Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Gyle here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. Second cast of the afternoon, guys. Don't you feel special? As well you should, because you are. Well, I figure I've got to make up for my horrendous absence somehow, so I'm going to double up as and where I can. And when I have a backlog of replays, thank you very much for brain fart, and incidentally for looking out today's replays. This is another older one from when I was away. If somebody else has already casted it, guys, I apologize. There just isn't time for me to go through every single Sopcom caster and all of their work to see, because there are a ton of them. But anyway, even if it has been done before, there's chances are there's a decent group of you out there who haven't seen it, so hopefully you will enjoy. Anyway, it's going to be a custom 1v1 for the second game of the afternoon, and it's all going to go down on Crossfire Canal. So let's go on over to the game zone and see how these guys are going to get on. Crossfire Canal, of course, typically a 3v3 or a Phantom or a free-for-all map. Works very well, though, as a 1v1. There are lots of independent zones, these slices, otherwise known as pizza, of course, Crossfire Canal, for people to capture and exploit. Let's take a look at our players. Up here at the top, we have Adjux, and he's going fecal brown. Interesting decision. I can understand people getting stuck with brown when there aren't many colours left to choose from when you're last into a team game of 8 or 10 people, but choosing it in a 1v1, I have to question your sanity. That's just a bit strange. Anyway, he's opening first land and then going air all day, and his opponent down here at the bottom is Mega Ultra Swag, which is an amazing name, or it would be if it wasn't Blackheart, who likes to make me die inside by changing his name every 5 minutes, along with the rest of them that do it and seem to think it's funny. It's not. Anyway, so I'm going to be calling him Blackheart. As cool as Mega Ultra Swag is, I would probably have had to have stuck to Swag, but he's Blackheart. That's who he is. That's who he shall remain, even if he's chooses another name and never changes it back to Blackheart again. He's always going to be Blackheart because he's done so many uber things under that name. He can never alter it. Anyway, he's opening first land, second air in Ferrari red, much more sensible colour, and why not? So initially, you start out generally, guys, message to you newbies out there, using as fine an eco balance as you want. So you don't want to unnecessarily spam too much power. But Blackheart, you can see, not worrying about that now. And why is that, you might ask? Well, there's so much mass on this map. You really don't need to worry about it too much. You're going to need as much power as quickly as possible, especially if you're building transports early, which is what Blackheart is doing. That will be to cap these side islands here. I'm wondering if we're going to see an aggressive snag. Sometimes on Crossfire you see people try and snag one of the opponent's flanking side islands, like make an airdrop over to this side, and if they can secure it, that is not a guaranteed win, but it certainly puts you on the front foot for the rest of the game if you can hold on to it. But anyway, interceptors out for both teams, but a bomber inbound from Adjux, who incidentally is expanding a little bit slower. We've got engineers landing for Blackheart on the island to his right. The ACU is moving to the island to the left. Take a look at how this bomber does on the first pass. A little bit of hovering is going to knock out 3 engineers. That is a very erotic bomb indeed. And then he can go on his way. But back to what I was saying, you can see Adjux is favouring a much less aggressive expansion plan and a much more aggressive unit plan, and going straight after the harassment side of things here for Blackheart. That bomber still alive. 9 kills now, coupled with structures, of course, not all engineers, but that is a very cost-effective bomber indeed. Blackheart could be in danger of losing another transport, this time loaded with 2 engineers. He's dropping them off, I believe. No, he's elsewhere. It looked like he was about to, and he's going to lose the lot. That is painful. This is some wonderful early harassment from Adjux. But of course, taking a look at the eco side of things, 25 to 22, and look at the difference in expansion between these two guys. Blackheart is set up over on this side already, and will soon be set up with all of the build capacity on that ACU over on the left. So as effective as this has been, and as well as that one single bomber which has finally been dispatched has been, quite frankly, I have to question whether that kind of strategy on this map is even possible at this level to work, because you know your opponent is going to expand as quickly as you can, or as quickly as he can, and why get yourself behind him, which he now is by 6 mass per tick, and that is only going to escalate the longer this goes on. But finally we're seeing some expansion from Adjux, airdropping 3 NGs to his eastern flanking island, and he's going to use the same transport, send the other 2 off on board to the other starting location up here. And I like what we're seeing here, a few wall sections planned at the sort of ramp that leads into the water on this slice, preventing Blackheart from getting up there. Of course, both these guys choosing Seraphim, and for good reason. The exceptionally strong navy for one. This kind of map lends itself to naval players very strongly indeed. But then of course for the Zuis, and you're already seeing some floating Zui spam making its way across the map from Adjux now, who's set up land factories on the pinnacles of these slices. You can see another one down here, so very much the strategy there from him. Bombard Blackheart with Zuis as soon as possible. Blackheart also has a couple of land factories going up on the pinnacle of his main slice there. 1 in play already, 3 more on the way. But it won't be long before he's overwhelmed at this rate, as long as Adjux moves quickly. At the moment they're just rallying in the center of the map. He might potentially miss out on an opportunity here. Blackheart already has a couple of Zuis in play. What he really wants is some PD and a radar. Well, the radar is queued up as well. Blackheart's like, I don't need PD, Gyle. I'm good at this game. I use my mind and my fingers to work magic. That sounds a bit dodgy. There's no ladies watching, or children for that matter, which is even more disturbing. But Adjux still commanding a little bit of authority in the air game, and now we're seeing the odd Volthu emerge on the map. So T2 now in play for Adjux, T2 air. Gunship on the field. Blackheart content to stick at Tech 1 for the moment, but he has thrown down a naval facility, and that, I believe, is the first one on the map. We do have an engineer over here, actually, that is working on one. So Adjux's navy not going to be far behind, and that is kind of an essential play for this map, really. And we've got the crossing of the Zuis here, significantly more moving in for Adjux. But Blackheart's still in a position to do some damage, and that's an upgrading land factory as well, which is a bit of a shame. Volthu sent in to dispatch those Zuis, but the Zuis, no, they're not going to make it. So good coverage there, and that's a nice call on the early air tech from Adjux. Decided to do a little bit of harassment over on that western slice as well, but so many ISILs, the T1 mobile anti-air for Seraphim there for Blackheart, that those Volthus unable to get anything done. But this time a little bit more damage wrought on the main slice, and that's actually the T2 land HQ there. Blackheart upgraded to T2 land and in place, and presumably that's because he wants to spit out Yenzines as quickly as possible, and they are the T2 mobile floating tanks for Seraphim to accompany. You don't just want the Zuis, you need a more direct firing, accurate weapon to accompany them with a little bit more tank, and the Yenzines fit that bill. But that's a nasty looking group of Volthus. There's gunships there stalking about the map for Adjux, looking for targets of opportunity. Adjux has secured the ramps more or less in both these slices, so he got caught out by a little bit of water there. That was poor town planning. Doubt some Seraphim engineer got put to the sword there. Very unforgiving. Seraphim state, a little bit like ISIS. Gunship splitting up now to cause maximum damage, but Blackheart ready finally with his own group of inties, and he should be able to ward this off now. The last couple of interceptors in the center go down there for Adjux. He's got 3 more that are landed on the ground up here, not doing anything. They're not going to be in a position to help keep these Vulthus alive as they get swamped by Blackheart's inties. Down goes another one with just one left, and that is the end of that. Still pretty effective so far, and you can see 13 minutes gone, so it takes a little bit of time for this map to get going, but once everything is colonized, it's an incredibly hectic map. It's the sort of thing that takes an incredible amount of APM, a lot of concentration, and a lot of multitasking to focus on all of the different fronts. If we take a look at Blackheart's vision, you can see he's got a problem there. He can see he's got a problem coming in there. But no intel on the rest of the map whatsoever. So these frigates may well have been a bit of a surprise for him for those Zuis in the center. You can see both of these guys now spitting out Yenzines, those hover tanks. And Adjux really focusing on the air in a big way this one. It keeps him mobile and allows him to get around the map. He's actually focusing very heavily on naval as well. So we've got 3 T1 naval factories, another 2 on the way, and he's managed to grab a T2 upgrade on another. By contrast, Blackheart sitting on just the one, has 4 frigates to his name so far, and doesn't look like he's building any more as yet. He does have engineers potentially in place. He sees ACU underwater, could throw some together nice and quickly should he decide to do it. And engineers caught napping there by the Vulthus, but the Vulthus aren't going to last too long either. Tons of inties hovering on that portion of the map for Blackheart. And now Blackheart's made the transition to T2 air as well, has some gunships of his own. This time with flanking aircraft to assist as well. Taking a look at eco side of things, Blackheart is moving away with it slightly. 124 or so to 115. Taking a look at reclaim, 31,000 there for Blackheart to 21,000 for Adjux, and this is really one of Blackheart's strengths. It's why he has done so well historically at this game. One of his core strengths is his ability to reclaim. Seems to be much consistently better than most of the other players. Down there for Adjux, and that is the T2 land HQ, so good target priority there for Blackheart if you can get there. However, this has to be a little bit of a concern for him. Frigates and Yenzines steaming their way up the central canal here. Now we're getting a little bit of a raiding party going on here from Blackheart in the air, still with no air support, and it does look as if Adjux has spotted those coming over, those interceptors. I don't know how, he's got no radar coverage on this side, but they are moving in to assist. Another group of gunships forcing Adjux back out of that central canal. And now we're starting to get some kind of cohesive nature. I like the position of that sonar system. Tucked up out of the way, but immediately allows BC to see if there's any kind of naval construction going on that side of the map. Vulthu's chasing those frigates up the center of the map, but gets swamped by Adjux's inties. But that destroyer might well have been Blackheart's first look at naval tech. Indeed it is. He has had no vision whatsoever. He has not scouted this section of the map since those naval factories were introduced, so he has no idea as the tech level generally of Adjux's navy, and he has managed to throw together an upgrade pretty darn quickly on one of his own. He's immediately working on T2 navy. Band of Zuis and Yenzines getting swamped now by frigates and destroyers from Adjux. One lone gunship as well. As the Blackheart's forces backing up to consolidate. Over in the east, he's got a little bit of a push going on though. And a Strat Bomber makes an appearance. I thought I heard that unmistakable sound of Strat Bombers enacting their bombing runs, and that is a Cormex that's been taken out there. So Adjux makes the transition to T3 Air. He's now sending out the spy planes as well. But Blackheart's upgrade not far behind, immediately starts working on ASFs. So that tech advantage, short-lived. These guys matching each other, pacing each other very well indeed. Blackheart still ahead on eco and just crawling away bit by bit. One mass point at a time. 200 and odd mass versus 160 odd mass. Adjux on 28k reclaim compared to the 46k reclaim from Blackheart. It's an absolute reclaim monster, but this has been fantastic work. Apologise for missing this, but there's been a massive fight over on this side of the map. Vulthu's clearing up now for Adjux, but all of the, or almost all of the Cormex taken out, actually only half of them, but another one here survives from just 200 HP, and I can only assume by the other two being at T2, these were T2 as well. And he did rectify the barrier, but Blackheart bulldozed his way in and made his way up this ramp onto the center. So very, very back and forth indeed. Just when it looks like Adjux was gaining some ground in the center of the ocean here and putting some pressure on, Blackheart manages to scoot up around the side, and he's doing it again. Where are those Vulthus gone? He's going to need more of them. Of course, the problem is with that now is we've got Ioshivas accompanying these Yenzines. And once again, another attack, causing headaches for Adjux, who is falling behind dramatically in eco, 240 to 162. There's a lot of units in the center of the map, a lot of naval units out for Adjux. And this is the thing, if Adjux can make a play here, if he can cause some catastrophic damage soon, He will have justified the amount he's invested in hardware as opposed to eco. But he needs to do it soon because that advantage cannot be allowed to continue. It will get to a stage where the game will be unrecoverable for him. And indeed, look at this. Blackheart has steamrolled through this top left slice and is now bearing down on Adjux's main base. Build capacity hurriedly building T1 point defense. Vulthu's being dispatched to work on those hover tanks. Blackheart's Air Force is down here at the bottom. But Adjux says to complete that game, and now makes landfall with his own group of Yenzines on that main slice. And look at this, 4 destroyers sitting at the headland here. Just zapping everything that's coming out. No, these are surviving. These are mostly frigates. The destroyers are being prioritized. I think that's going to gain that much traction. Meanwhile, Blackheart, distracted, has set up his formation here but not done anything with them. Fortunately for him, Adjux's main weapon of attack to get to those units without being overrun is the Vulthus, and he has Aoshivas in the mix, so that's making life very difficult indeed. But the amount of strap bombers overhead here for Blackheart, and still Adjux is getting through. All of the build capacity now under threat around this T2 naval yard. That is the sort of blow Adjux needs to land. But that is a lot of strats for Blackheart, literally ignoring the frigates, ignoring those inties. Adjux brings in his ASFs, takes out the 2 lead strap bombers. Doesn't want to get caught out in terms of micro and lose those. 3 of those strap bombers survive. And they go straight for Adjux's comm, who lifts it off. That is a beautiful evac. The ASFs are immediately dispatched to kill the transport, but they're going to be too late, I think. Oh, that's so close. That's beautiful. That is a thing of beauty. Blackheart can't believe it. He thought he had the game tied up there in 28 minutes, but it was not to be. Adjux, with phenomenal reaction times, pulls out the ACU and keeps the game going. Strap bombers coming in for another pass, though, this time going straight after that T3 Air HQ. Takes it down to around half its health. So much build capacity, though, it's being repaired incredibly quickly. But surely he's going to be able to get him. Yes, he does. Down it goes. And that's a harsh blow for Adjux. Despite managing to save his comm, now has lost the ability to produce T3 Air. Surely you want to be going for the power grid, don't you? But look at the mass differential. Having said that, Blackheart so far ahead. 273 to 114 now. And we're going to go to split screen, so keep an eye on these 2 theatres, because we've got Yenzines pouring in the main base here for Blackheart. The only problem is they're doing that dreaded single file approach, which of course always do. Not much they can do about it. They are going to make it into the main base. Build capacity is working on point defense, and they should have got one up in time. That should be enough. But the front lines on this map are just collapsing now. We've got units over here on the right clearing out Adjux's right expansion. More Yenzines coming in from the left again, although Adjux has defensive units in place now. The problem that he's facing are these strap bombers. You can hear those bombs going off left, right, and center, literally picking apart all of the mexes on the map, pretty much. Adjux down to 98 mass per tick. A little bit over. That is pretty darn painful. But I like that we're starting to see more cruisers on the field. Seraphim cruisers, of course, with the better anti-air of the two missile cruisers in the game. Between them and the Governor. Phenomenal at bombarding bases. And when you're facing outrageous amounts of air spam, which you can't counter because you've lost your air factory, they are a godsend. Still some Yenzines alive at the back of the base here for Adjux. Half an hour gone in this one. Adjux trying to make plays, but he is so unbelievably far behind in eco. Depends how many cruisers he can get down. If he can get enough cruisers into this canal and pick off core mexes, take out the power grid, won't be able to reach these P-gens. Get the T2s, and maybe he could get one of these T3s. He'd have to come around this side to get the others. So many strap bombers. It wouldn't be the weapon of choice to take out cruisers, but he's got so many he can afford to do it, and he's just going to shut down this attack. No matter what it costs him, he can afford to throw it away. He's that far ahead on mass, quite frankly. But in terms of map control, the astonishing thing is Adjux is still in this. You look at the border, he's actually on slightly over 50%. Which is incredible, considering Blackheart has twice the eco, more than twice the eco. Huge amounts of power required to sustain this strap bomber production. But at the same time, you've got to think he's going to want to get some kind of navy together. Air alone on a map like this, against this much spam, very, very tough indeed to counter. Air is a directed unit. They can't act independently, unlike ships where you can place them in an area when they've got a large range and they'll just shoot at anything by themselves, and more often than not behave in some kind of sensible fashion. Strap bombers require APM, they require your attention, your strategic thought. But nonetheless, it is working. You can't deny it. It's keeping Adjux at bay, who's set up more factories over here. He's upgraded them to T2, but for the moment they're just spamming Zuis. He is just going to try and overwhelm Blackheart as best he can. He's got this band of Yenzines over here, but doesn't want to bring them in, at least yet, to what is now looking like a very nasty production facility of his own. Blackheart has thrown that together pretty damn quickly. That is a lot of land factories. 18 land factories. Actually more than that. Hasn't zoomed out far enough. That is unreal. 21 land factories, all producing Zuis, Aoshivas and Yenzins. And now we're moving up to T2 torpedo launchers. I'm guessing because most of the cruisers in this area have been dispatched, he feels he can more effectively counter the destroyers and what's left with those. But the trouble is, a ton of Aoshivas turn up from Adjux. And now these T3 mechs is beginning to be threatened for the moment. That TMD keeping up with the incoming fire more or less. Well, the odd one getting through now. Couple more cruisers and that will be overwhelmed. I don't think I've ever seen a game at this level where there is such a huge mass differential, and yet the game has gone on this long and doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon either. This is utterly unique, and it's purely because of the composition of units and weaponry that the players have access to and the styles in which they're playing. And we have T3 Air re-established. Adjux now with 13 ASFs on the field. He'll be wanting to get as many of those together before he starts showing his hand to Blackheart. This is just an unbelievable spam fest. Scale for a 1v1 is pretty overwhelming. BC out front with his commander, the heavily upgraded 16,000 odd HP, just adding his firepower into the mix. Those torpedo bombers getting absolutely munched as they fly overhead of those Aoshivas and those cruisers. Picked off a fair few boats. There's so many Zuis on the map for both of these guys now. 287 Zuis for BC Blackheart. That's insane. 64 there for Adjux, but 200. I mean, you're approaching a third of your entire maximum unit cap on T1 mobile artillery. God, I hate them. Neither of these guys deviating from the plan at the moment. No one's going straight for T3 artillery or anything like that. I don't see any nuke launchers as yet. The plan is spam and keep spamming or get out spammed. So he's rolling in from Blackheart to challenge this top left segment once again. Adjux recognises the threat and gets those Yenzins moving. Vitally important, of course, against mass formations of artillery. Keep moving, and your more direct fire units will win. More accurate, your higher muzzle velocity units will win and win comfortably, and indeed they have. But my goodness, the confluence of these two streams of units The amount of mass that's been deposited on the beaches and under the water. Just look at it, it's like hordes of ants going to war with artillery and cruise missiles. It really is a thing of beauty. And could we be starting to see the difference now that that eco is making? Last 5-6 minutes or so, Adjux has been down here. He's been challenging Blackheart's base, but suddenly he's now bottled up in the middle. A few Yenzines rolling around Blackheart's expansion over here to the right. Blackheart's not going to concern himself too much with it. These factories aren't even producing units at the moment. He's just got his build capacity working on T2 PD. He's going to need some TMD as well, though, as these cruisers come in from the right. He's got a few in there already. Going to stop those missiles from impacting the shield, but it might well save the shield gens when the shields collapse. What a mess, man. What an absolute cluster shag. Another group of Vulthus heading over to the right. Don't want to be countering those cruisers with those. They won't last long at all. Now the rows of TMD are started. Indeed, Adjux manages to claim that shield on the right there. Just shows you how strong those cruisers are. Cause so many issues. Zui's dispatch to try and slow their progress. In come some spy planes over the top, and having said that they're not going to deviate, Blackheart says enough's enough and has started a T3 heavy arty installation. That will change the dynamic of this game should it be allowed to be completed. But I love it. Look at this group of cruisers harassing these two expansions. And look at the difference in development of Blackheart. He's looking a little bit thinner down here, but this is an absolute monstrous installation. Fortunately for Adjux, he has access to a few T3 mechs kills here with these cruisers. Should get at least 2 or 3 of them. But he's so far behind in eco. It's astonishing, really, that he's managed to stay in it this long. He's done superb work on the spam front. I like this. Zui's managed to take down one, maybe even a couple of these cruisers. A slight mistake from Adjux. He's bringing the Vulthus to deal with it, but he's so busy, hasn't been able to keep track. Zui's mistakenly stopped, though, and allow the cruisers to finish a lot of the work themselves. Hello, what have we got here? An experimental bomber under construction. And with that monstrous eco, that's not going to take too long to build, should he put enough build capacity on it, prioritize it. But 98,000 mass reclaimed for Blackheart. but that's nowhere near the mass that's been reclaimed compared to Adjux, and this is how he's managed to stay in it for so long. 140,000 mass in terms of reclaim. Phenomenal work. Don't often see Blackheart getting out reclaimed, especially not when so much of the fighting has been around Blackheart's main base. I'm wondering if the sheer amount of strap bombers and stuff that he was sending out around the map earlier is what's contributed to that. So much spam. But importantly, Blackheart has managed to force Adjux back. Remember, the battle was down here and then it was up here, and now it is all in the center. Even though this is mostly just Zuis, Yenzin should be able to deal with this as long as they keep moving. Of course, this is the problem. The larger the group span, the less mobile they are. The nature of the engine and everything, the way they collide with one another, slowing each other up. It actually gives an advantage to large groups of artillery, but the back is broken with this particular group. However, large group of Yenzins approaching from the south. Engineers getting their share of reclaim there for Adjux are going to get toasted first. How is that experimental bomber doing? Well, it's complete pretty much. And that's going to be interesting. Let's take a quick look at how these guys are doing air-wise. I don't want to miss anything here, so I'm slowing it right up. Adjux has 56 ASFs at current count. Compare that to Blackheart's... Can't see because I've selected Observer. There we go. Blackheart's 71. So Blackheart definitely up on the count. Now, it depends whereabouts any particular air engagement kicks off. If it's over the top of these cruisers, that could give an advantage to Adjux and might be enough to him to level it. But even so, if both of these sets of ASFs get wiped out, then all you're going to be left with is one very large experimental bomber. Blackheart sends out the ASFs to pick off a group of Vulthus out front. Experimental bomber online and circling. And he's moving it up to the western slice. And he's got a whole bunch of waypoints. In fact, it looks like he's coming over up here. Now, this is quite risky. He doesn't know necessarily how many ASFs Adjux has. Indeed, I'm not sure if we've had a big engagement since he got himself into an overwhelming position, but this is a mistake by Adjux. Can he see it coming? He can't. He hasn't got intel. He's got all the power in the world, so if he had it, he would know. He's only just realized, and that's allowed this bomber to get into position. The air fight kicks off over here. Adjux wants to be going after the experimental bomber, but he's got himself caught now, and the bomb is away straight after the air factory. An instant veterancy, 175 kills in one explosion. If he'd have followed the line, he could have potentially got another one off on the naval factory up here. Huge bank of T1 anti-air. Fires some volleys up at the experimental bomber, and look at that, they finally latch on to the bomber, but Blackheart has been shredding Adjux's air force from the rear, and as a result, that experimental bomber is going to be sitting pretty with almost half its HP. And one well-placed bomb here will kill all that build capacity and probably most of the anti-air as well. Oh, look at that instant veterancy again. 277 kills. on that experimental bomber, and total air dominance now, air supremacy even. Yes, we have an air factory in play still, no build capacity around it whatsoever though, and that will be what wins the game for Blackheart. Astonishing when you consider he was being pushed back once again. I mean, probably in part because of the amount of mass he was dumping into the experimental bomber, and incidentally there's another one on the way as we speak. 7,700 hit points and climbing. And where is that bomber gone? I can hear it dropping. Where are you? There it is, over there, taking out all the core mass on the eastern slice. 281 kills. That must be full vet. Yes, it is. Full veterancy. 125 hit points a second. Climbing back onto that. And there's nothing to stop him now. He can go around and hoover up all of this. Wisely deciding to go for the core mechs up here. This is going to be another place where you expect to find more T2 mechs. Ground fires right in the center to make sure he gets all 4 of those. A thing of beauty. Yes, there are lots of Yenzines on Blackheart's island, but not in range of anything remotely critical. A few units of build capacity getting toasted. And another attack on the main base. Air factory still alive. If I were him, I'd want to finish it off. But Adjux now, I feel a bit sorry for him because he has played phenomenally well. We'll be well aware that there's a second experimental bomber on the way. Fulfu's now in the sky overhead to cover it. Another attack up here. Going after nothing. It was always going to be an uphill battle. Just looking at their ratings alone. We can knock this up to +2 now. I would be astonished if there was anything Adjux could do to come back from this one. Another experimental bomber queued up. Just tearing holes in Adjux's attack formations. Fly right overhead over the flak if he wants to tank it and take it all out. So much damage, so much awesomeness. You so rarely get to see Awasars be properly effective in games. It's actually a thing of beauty when they finally are. 331 kills. Blackheart working for another solution. Almost like he flew into that ASF and it just bounced off the hull. And another one online, so there are now 2 in the skies. He needs to get this one to come round here and hit this group of Yenzines. Not that I think they'll be able to penetrate the main base, but bombs away. That's going to thin out the horde dramatically. This just must be painful to watch and play for Adjux, knowing that he can't really do anything about this. He's producing flak, he's producing cruisers. Trouble is, though, I forget what the speed is of the experimental bomber. It's just too fast, it flies right over, and Adjux decides enough is enough. He surrenders, and Blackheart emerges victorious in 53 minutes, just shy of an epic almost. But what a game. So much spam. Adjux did amazingly, and I'm almost gutted he couldn't pull off a victory there, but perfect play once again. Late game by Blackheart. Lovely to see. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. I've got an epic coming in for you next time, but in the meantime, stay well and stay safe. This is Gyle, signing out.